Good evening and welcome to the Muskogee Creek National Council Planning Session, February 20th, 2024. Time is 5:30 p.m. I am Speaker Randall Hicks and I call this meeting to order. At this time, our invocation will be given by Okfuskee District Representative Sandra Golden.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear God, thank you so much for this blessed day. Thank you for everything that you do for us every minute, every hour of the day. We come here today to do the business for the nation, and we want you to hold us up with our strength and our knowledge and our skills to be able to do the great business for this nation to the best of our abilities. Lord, I ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Widow Representative Golden, and happy belated birthday. At this time, we'll do roll call. National Council Secretary Alicia Strobel.
Speaker Randall Hicks.
Present.
Jody Barnett.
Present.
Galen Cloud.
Delege.
Mary Crawford.
Present.
Joyce Steer.
Present.
Patrick Freeman. Sandra Golden.
Present.
Leonard Gouge.
Here.
Nelson Harjo.
Here.
Robert Huft.
Present.
Anna Marshall.
Present.
Charles McHenry.
Here.
Thomas Inuhola Osborne.
Present.
Darrell Proctor.
Here.
Mark Randolph.
Present.
Robin Whitecloud.
Present.
Speaker, you have 16 present, 0 absent.
16 present, 0 absent. This constitutes a quorum. All business conducted will be official. Next on the agenda is the speaker's report. On February the 5th, I attended the State of the State in Oklahoma City with Chief Hill, Second Chief Beaver, Chief of Staff Jeff Fife. Also that day, I attended the fact-finding committee meeting. Election of officers were selected, so congratulations to Chairman Leonard Gouge and Vice Chair Dodie Barnett. Also that evening, I attended the Internal Affairs Committee meeting. February 6th, attended the Elderly Food Show held in Glenpool Convention Center. Also present were second speaker Thomasine Yahola Osborne, Representatives Anna Marshall, Galen Cloud, and Sandra Golden. If I left any representative off, I apologize. February the 7th, I attended the Elderly Monthly Meeting held at the Okmulgee Indian Nutrition Center. Also present were Representatives Sandra Golden and Galen Cloud. February the 8th, attended the Muskogee Creek Nation Commerce Department and Oklahoma Joe's Luncheon. Also present were second speaker Thomasine Yahola Osborne, Representatives Mark Randolph, Nelson Harjo Sr., Leonard Gouge, Mary Crawford, Joyce Deere, and Sandra Golden. Again, if I left any representatives off, I apologize. That evening, or that same day, we had an emergency meeting concerning the EBT program, and that legislation did pass. February the 10th, flew out to Florida for government-to-government meetings. Returned on the 11th, I believe, yes. And then on the 12th, flew out to DC to attend NCAI. Also in attendance were second speaker Thomasine Yahola Osborne, Representative Joyce Deere, and Representative Galen Cloud. On February 13th, I attended the following: the President's Report, Congressional Update, Treasury Update, Small Business Administration Update, and that evening I attended a meet and greet hosted by the Eastern Cherokees. That was all in DC. February 15th, attended the Go Red for Women hosted at River Spirit. Also attendance were second speaker Thomasine Yahola Osborne, Representatives Anna Marshall, Mary Crawford, and Galen Cloud. Also on the 15th, I attended a meeting hosted by One Fire and Muskogee Nation Commerce concerning a business opportunity. Information will be forthcoming to the National Council. Also attending the meeting were Chief Hill, Second Chief Beaver, Sean Terry, Guy Barker, and Second Speaker Yahola Osborne. And Commerce Jason Harrison, Mr. Hullaby, Shane Hullaby. So. Then that evening, I attended the Business, Finance, and Justice Committee meeting. February 16th, attended the Elementary Muskogee Nation Challenge Bowl. Also present were and assisting with the Challenge Bowl were Representative Joyce Deere, Dodie Barnett, Mary Crawford, and MC Galen Cloud. So that's my report, and I thank you, representatives, for assisting with the Challenge Bowl. It's always good and to see you guys out there assisting. So that is my speaker's report. Now down to second speaker, Thomasine Yahola Osborne.
Thank you, Speaker. My February report is January 26th, I attended a work session with the Citizenship Department along with other representatives in attendance or online. And after the session, we enjoyed fellowship and lots of food. On January 27th, I attended the pre-agenda, followed by the State of the Nation by Chief Hill and the quarterly session. January the 29th, I attended the Internal Affairs Committee meeting. On the 30th, I attended the American Indian Chamber of Commerce of Oklahoma, the Eastern Chapter at Los Cabos with Speaker Hicks. February the 1st, along with Speaker Hicks, Representative Gouge, Representative McHenry, and Representative Randolph, and my dad, we witnessed Chief Hill sign NCA 23-007. February the 5th, I attended the Internal Affairs Committee meeting. On the 6th, I attended the Elderly Nutrition Food Show, along with Representatives Golden, Cloud, Marshall, and Speaker Hicks. February the 8th, I attended the luncheon with Oklahoma Joe's Barbecue. Other representatives in attendance were Representatives Harjo, Randolph, Deere, Gouge, Crawford, and Speaker Hicks. And at 5 p.m., I zoomed into the emergency meeting. And later at 7 p.m., I attended the Wetumpka Indian Community meeting. February the 9th, I attended the Elder Sweetheart Dance along with fellow Representatives McHenry, Deere, Golden, and Crawford. And Representative McHenry graced the room with his dance skills. February the 10th, I was a judge for the ribbon skirt contest at Tulsa Creek Indian Community. Representative Randolph was also a judge, and Representative Barnett was the MC. We enjoyed hamburgers and watched Killers of the Flower Moon. February the 11th, I attended Women's Retreat at High Spring Church south of Okemah. February the 12th through the 14th, I attended the NCAI winter meeting at Washington, D.C., which was my first time ever to travel to D.C. Speaker Hicks, Representatives Clouds and Deere attended the general session, and later we zoomed into the HEW meeting. And that evening, Speaker Hicks and I attended the Truth and Healing Commission hosted by the Eastern Band Cherokees. February the 15th, I attended the Go Red for Women luncheon at River Spirit, and other representatives in attendance were Representatives Marshall, Crawford, Golden, Cloud, and Speaker Hicks. And that afternoon, Speaker Hicks and I attended a meeting hosted by One Fire and Muskogee Nation Commerce regarding future business opportunity. And at 4 p.m., Speaker Hicks and I met with A.G. Wisner regarding legislative review, and at 5 p.m., I attended the BF&J meeting. February 17th, I attended the 2024 Susan G. Komen Pink Stiletto Gala at River Spirit. Representative Gouge and his wife, Jonna, were also in attendance. And finally, last night, I attended the Coweta Indian Community meeting. And Speaker, fellow representatives, that concludes my report.
Thank you, second speaker. Down to ex officio reports. Muskogee Nation Gaming Enterprise, Representative Robert Huff.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, they had a meeting on February 7th, but unfortunately I was out of the state, so I was unable to attend that meeting. Our next meeting will be tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, February 21st. Also, the January financials were sent to the full council recently also. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Huff. Muskogee Nation Businesses, Representative Dodie Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the following month, I can report that the Muskogee Staffing Services on the federal side has been onboarding contracts and servicing current operations as well. One new contract, 1 year base plus 3 years, $10 million contract value. Second contract, 1 year base, 1 option year, and $10 million contract value. MSS Commercial, Muskogee Staffing Solutions Commercial, they're working on strategies to increase commercial sales. And also attending the College of the Muskogee Nation on February 14th. Muskogee Asset Protection LLC, they're currently waiting on approval on 8A certification, also working on turning in several bids that are due this week. And I can report those amounts next month. MBS, Daily Drug Screenings, that they inherited from MCN Trade and Commerce, and they will start 8A certification process for MBS in the next couple of months. The next regular board meeting is February 29th, 2024, and that will be an in-person meeting at Muskogee Nation Businesses office. And MNB also will be at RES 2024 conference, March 11th through 14th. And the MAP LLC CEO Chase Williams won the Native American 40 Under 40 Award that is awarded every year from NSED, so that is pretty cool. MNB did not did not take any action on acquisition opportunities in the past month. And they also had a special board meeting this afternoon, and Russell Torbett, who is on the MNB board, resigned effective immediately. It is a position that the board themselves chooses, so no action needs to be taken from the administration or the legislative branches. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Barnett. College of the Muskogee Nation, Representative Anna Marshall.
Thank you, Speaker. The Board of Regents met last night, and it was reported that there are 251 students that are enrolled for this semester. The lecture and exhibit hall, the one that everyone's been watching go up, is almost completed. It will be hopefully completed by graduation, and they hope to have the graduation class there on April the 26th. And the next meeting date is March the 18th at 5:30 p.m. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Anna Marshall. Muskogee Loan Fund, Representative Nelson Harjo Sr.
Thank you, Speaker. We had met the 13th of this month at 3:30, and we met at the offices here just south of town. But they had discussed, it was held on how there may be an opportunity to offer new and potentially large loans for tribal businesses utilizing ARPA funds. And so, of course, those things will be, the details will be, are in the process of being created. Muskogee Loan Fund reported that they have surpassed the previous fiscal year, total ending in just their second quarter of FY24, just over $1 million deployed in less than 5 months. And they have $13.7 million in grant applications that are pending. The proposals are requesting funding for technical assistance, loan loss reserve capital, and operational expenses and financial products. Also, they're going to have an extra meeting this month, and that meeting will happen on the 28th, and that will be at 3:30 at the Muskogee Loan Fund office. And then in March, they'll be having another meeting on the 13th, and excuse me, the other meeting was the 7th that we had previously. But this meeting will be March the 13th, and it'll also be at 3:30 at the Muskogee Loan Fund office. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Nelson Harjo Sr. One Fire Holding, Representative Patrick Freeman Jr.
Speaker, One Fire Board and interim CEO submitted their FY22 budget last Thursday at BF&J last week. Their monthly scheduled meeting was today, but they had to reschedule, so that they will reschedule that meeting, and I'll report that after that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Patrick Freeman. That concludes the ex officio reports. Down to committee reports and announcements. First, we have Health, Education, and Welfare Chairperson, Representative Joyce Deere.
Hello, Speaker. The Health, Education, and Welfare Committee met on February the 13th, and out of committee, the following legislation came out with a due pass. TR 24006, TR 24007, 24008, 24009, 24010, 24016, NCA 24009, NCA 24010, 011, 012, 013, 014, and 015. We have no other items for consideration. Our next date in March is being,
Okay,
will be announced,
okay.
and we have no other announcements.
Thank you,
No
Representative.
speaker.
Land, Natural Resources, and Cultural Preservation, Chairman, Representative Darrell Proctor.
Thank you, Speaker. The committee met on February 13, 2024, and had a committee with the due pass following legislation. NCR 24-001, TR 24-011, 012, 013, 014, 015, and also NCA 24-016. Items for consideration. The committee met tonight at February 20th, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. and that committee with the due pass was TR 24-030. I'd like that to be added to the agenda for a regular session. Next scheduled committee date, March 12th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. No other announcements. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Proctor. Request to add TR 24030 to the agenda in numerical order has been approved. Business, Finance, and Justice, Chairman Robert Huff.
Thank you, Speaker. We met on February 15th, 2024, the following passed out of committee. NCR 24-002, TR 24-017, TR 24-018, TR 24-0119, TR 24-020, TR 24-0221, TR 24-022, TR 24-23, TR 24-25, TR 24-26, TR 24-29, and NCA 24-017, and referred legislation was NCA 24-016, all passed. No other items for consideration. Our next meeting will be on March 14th at 5 p.m. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Hub. We have referred legislation, NCA 24016, referred from Land, Natural Resources, and Cultural Preservation. We are down to other business. Tonight, we have 8 nominee interviews to conduct. Nominee resumes were submitted to all National Council representatives for review. Nominees will be allowed 5 minutes to state the name and provide any highlights, information they wish to share. Then we will have questions and answers. Council, I ask this of you. Please keep your questions to the job position, to the nominee being nominated for. Please be respectful from both parties, respectful and professional. Should there be any questions or answers that need to be addressed for National Council only, we shall do so in executive session.
Darren's done.
We will do those in executive session after all interviews have been conducted. Okay? So, with that being said, we are down to other business. Our first nominee interview will be Ms. Raylyn Butler. Since we added you to the agenda, we're putting you first, okay? So please come forward. Make sure the microphone is on. Ms. Raylyn Butler is being nominated for Secretary of Cultural and Humanities. You have 5 minutes to state your name and share the information you wish.
Hello, Hishjay Estongo, Raylyn Butler, Jaho Jifgados, Almalegada, Wakogi, Almadowa, Pecan Tallahassee. My name is Raylyn Butler, and I'm from the Raccoon Clan, and I'm from Peach Ground, Ceremonial Ground. I've been working at the Nation for 9 years. I have been the manager of the Historic and Cultural Preservation Department going on 9 years this year. And over the last 6 months, I've served as the Acting Secretary of Culture and Humanities. My educational background, I have a bachelor's degree in environmental science from Haskell Indian Nations University. And I also got a master's degree in botany and plant pathology from Purdue University. I graduated in 2012. After graduation, I taught for 1 year at Haskell Indian Nations University in the environmental science department as an adjunct professor. I also decided to move back home, and I started working at Tulsa Community College, and I was an adjunct professor for 2 years, teaching biology classes for majors and non-majors, and have a lot of experience being an educator, helping to recruit Native students to go into STEM fields. And I was always watching and monitoring an opportunity to come and work for the nation. I went through the higher education scholarship program through our tribe, which supported me to go to college and to have funds to leave home. And I was very much wanted to come back and work for my nation and my people. I have submitted a cover letter that talks a little bit more about my experience and goals. But to highlight a few things, I started at the nation as a librarian in the Historic and Cultural Preservation Department. I also was a summer youth worker in that program when I was much younger, and was my first opportunity to learn about what cultural preservation is, and to make GIS maps and to help with genealogy requests as a college undergraduate. And so coming to work as a librarian was awesome opportunity, and from there I was promoted to the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer, and then from there became the manager of the Historic and Cultural Preservation Department, which I've been for the last 8 years. So the first year at the tribe was in different positions, but all within the Cultural Preservation Department. I'm very excited about the new Culture and Humanities Division and an opportunity to really try to provide more support and an initiative to take on some big projects and tasks that for the nation. One of them being the immersion school for Creek Nation to establish a Muskogee language immersion school, but also for us to establish Muskogee Cultural Center and Museum. And we really believe that you need some leadership in the executive branch to really push those initiatives and start the planning to get those things going, but also developing more programs as needed and as recommended through the executive branch and legislative branch to help expand our programming for cultural outreach, cultural education, and for language learning and immersion opportunities. And so to highlight a few goals that I hope to see with the new division, I'd like to start a task force to plan the Muskogee Immersion School, also help establish a Muskogee Language Council, strengthen our Muskogee language education for our children, really target the young kids. We do a lot for adult learners right now. Increase the Fluent Speaker Initiative or incentive from 50 cents an hour to $1.50 per hour. Establish a task force to start planning the Muskogee Cultural Center. Help the Yuchi language program get into our public school systems in Creek County, and also help create Yuchi language certification program at the College of the Muskogee Nation. Develop more master apprentice programs for Yuchi and language learners. Short term would be to fill open positions, seat a cultural review committee, and establish policy and code for our burial laws and historic preservation on the reservation. This will help us to ensure compliance both internally and externally for the National Historic Preservation Act and the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. We want to establish a reinterment cemetery on the reservation and help create a comprehensive reservation-wide preservation plan. Expand our TIPO office to be and assume all functions of the State Historic Preservation Office. Establish a Muskogee National Register and signage for historic properties and cemeteries and churches. Work to get a spending bill to assist with putting ceremonial grounds and churches' land into trust. Find a way to help provide a Loop Square voucher or purchase of meat or gifting of a cow to ceremonial grounds or churches who are having major events.
Okay, Ms. Butler, that was
Time.
your 5 minutes. I know you could go on and on, but like I said, we do have 7 to 8 nominees tonight, so the limit was 5 minutes. So,
No.
National Council, floor is open for questions for Ms. Ray Lynn. Representative Mark Randolph.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to say that I've worked with Ms. Butler, seen her come through Haskell and Nation University, outstanding student, outstanding employee. Corresponds when you contact her, she gets right back with you. She always has an answer, and I've seen her do a really good job. Her heart's in it. I think she's very committed and dedicated to our people, and I think that's really important. So I support her 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Randolph. Representative Harjo.
I've really been impressed with Ms. Butler. I've been watching her and I've listened to her talks, and I've heard a lot of things that she shared here in the past since I've been on council, and just really impressed with the knowledge that she has and what she's brought to the table. And, you know, I was just really glad about some of the things that she was doing down in the southeastern part of the United States as far as protecting some of the sites where the burial grounds were, where we're talking about they were in kind of hidden locations, so to speak. That came about this past year, and you know, there's so much down there still that belongs to us as a people, and that's how we continue to make that link. And I think that's what you've been doing, and I just really like hearing all these different things to take place, and so I'll just have to say that I'm in support of her in this position as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Harjo. Representative Cloud.
Hey, I just want to say that working with you also at when I was at Thought Thaco as a THPO officer, I've called you many a times, and you've always called me back and helped me out. So I appreciate that very much. I know your work ethic. I see you year after year down there sweating it out down at Pecan, Tallahassee, and I know that you know the ways that we have. You come from strong women out there. So the women from Pecan, Tallahassee would be very proud of you, and especially your dad. So I just want to tell you, Mado, for everything that you do for this nation, and you keep going on. Mado, really.
Thank you, Representative Cloud. Representative Golden.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. Ms. Butler, I am very proud of you for all of your accomplishments. From what I have seen, I've never worked with you, but on the national, regional area, tribal relations, you come across as very learned and experienced, and that's really good. I'm just real proud of that. I do have a question regarding, this is a new, I'm understanding it's a new department, and your position as a secretary is be at the top of all of the people that have kind of merged now into one department. So I'm just wondering, what is your management style, and have you ever supervised this many people before?
Thank you for your question. You know, currently under the Historic and Cultural Preservation, we have 19 staff, and we've kind of ranged from 16 to 19 over the years. You know, and now with as acting over 6 months, there's over 50 employees that are associated with our cultural programs at the nation. And I would say that, you know, one of the most challenging parts is personnel matters and issues and HR type of situations that are a constant learning opportunity to try to work through those kind of things. But also, I would say my management style is really, I believe in teamwork and motivation and really working towards goals, setting goals and working towards them. And so being attentive to needs, setting up meetings as needed, and checking in. And we do weekly reports, monthly reports to ensure everybody is working on track and working towards doing our job duties and again, meeting major accomplishments that we are working towards. So, but very much teamwork and door open policy and very understanding type of manager and open to suggestions and open to trying to improve in our efficiency in the way things are going to better serve our citizens and to operate our programs and to help the nation.
Thank you, Representative Golden. Any other questions, council? Comments? Second speaker, Yehola Osborne.
Thank you, Speaker. Ms. Butler, I could tell you we were getting very emotional earlier, and I just want to make a comment. I echo what everybody has said, and it's a good thing you're young because you got a lot of goals. Thank you for your service to the nation.
Thank you, second speaker. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. Ms. Butler, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you Saturday morning. Next, we have Kevin Agee. Kevin, if you would come forward, please. Again, the ones that are being interviewed tonight, I want to reiterate, we do have your resumes. So in your allotted 5 minutes, I would cover some information that we don't have if you want to share that. So, Mr. Agee is Muskogee Nation Gaming Enterprises Board of Directors member. Okay, Mr. Agee, you have 5 minutes. You may begin, sir.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Agee. I currently reside in Choctaw, where I work as a full-time remote employee for Dreyer's Grand Ice Cream, a company that owns Haagen-Dazs, Drumstick, and all those famous brands we all know. I'm the indirect tax manager. I've been there approximately 1 year. I handle the indirect tax function, sales tax, property tax, business registration, administration, permitting. My background is primarily 20 years in accounting, oil and gas finance, and taxation. I hold a bachelor's degree from NSU in accounting. I currently serve as the vice chair for the MNGE board. I've been a member of the board since 2020. I was going to touch on my background and applicable experience first. My direct experience with business and tax policies and procedures in all 50 states, including indirect tax, licensing, permitting, qualifying companies to do business with the Secretary of State across the United States. I have experience with tax and financial forecasting, budgets, accounting practices, and policies. These are applicable when reviewing M&G financial statements, as well as their annual budget and financial policies. I work constantly with internal resources such as accounting, finance, operation, IT, and legal, as well as external parties, which are the vendors, the advisory firms, state and county local agencies, for problem solving, business development, and compliance. I've also had to focus on organizational structuring to achieve optimal tax benefits and maximize profit and rate of return for the business. This is also important in gaming since we've changed our restructure, which I'll touch on shortly. We do due diligence inside and outside of our meetings, asking about the costs, expertise, and experience, particularly experience with our tribes and tribal entities. I'd like to touch on our accomplishments. Since I've been there, for me personally, I have developed a great working relationship with the executive team, including our directors and the staff. I've grown my knowledge of the industry, including operational, regulatory, and legal environment. At the organizational level, these accomplishments are a combination of our decisions along with the talent and skill of the executive team and the staff across all properties. As you're aware, we executed a swap agreement a couple of years ago with considerable savings. I won't give details since it's privileged information, but the savings have been considerable, and it's a great accomplishment by the executive team. We've had consecutive successful financial and operational audits with only one finding. was insignificant, so unqualified opinions by all accounts. We've had sound financial covenants, executed sound financial covenants with our partners, vendors, and financial institutions. Completed the Okima Casino remodel, and we created MNGE, which is Muskogee Nation Gaming Enterprises. This was done primarily to allow for more flexibility to pursue other gaming revenue streams, including certain services related to gaming entities, as well as expand into other markets. Another accomplishment is the work in progress going on at the Gridiron Sports Bar renovation within River Spirit. Some of our goals in the short term, more than anything, is to maintain confidentiality of sensitive current and potential future projects and business operations, business continuity, transparency, and safety, keep short-term borrowing costs at an optimal level by continuing to execute favorable financial agreements with the lowest cost possible, employee retention, maintain and grow employment of tribal citizens, completion of new properties, completion of the sports bar in River Spirit, completed budgeted CapEx purchases and improvements across all properties, and mostly preparedness for sports betting market and opportunities that await us. In the long term, expanding into other gaming-related opportunities, including new markets, keep long-term borrowing costs at an optimal level by continuing to execute favorable financial agreements. And again, preparedness for sports betting market and opportunities. It could be short-term or long-term, depending on how our state chooses to work with us. Some potential challenges that we all face, not just in gaming. One is potential double taxation of gross receipts generated within the nation's boundaries, specifically sales tax. We've all seen this issue come up as a result of McGirt and the challenge that it presents with authority on taxation. And this has the potential to impact the hospitality sector as well as the restaurants at our properties. Other challenges include governmental, state, county, and city level, specifically with authority and jurisdiction, price volatility. As you all know, in any industry, we find ourselves constantly in an environment of rising and fluctuating costs, including high interest rates, which means a higher cost to borrow. This can have a negative impact on budgets, ROI, and profitability. This also translates into less disposable income for our patrons at the casino, which means less for reinvestment into operations and expansion, as well as distributions to the nation. To help with these challenges, the board will continue to scrutinize the contracts as well as the contractors where possible to achieve an optimal price and high quality of work.
Mr. Agee?
Yes, sir.
Your time is up, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the information you share. Again, I apologize. I know 5 minutes isn't a lot. So with that being said, council representatives, do you have any questions for Mr. Kevin Agee?
Speaker, Robert Huff.
Yes, sir. Robert Huff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Speaker. I don't have a question. I just want to say that I support Kevin very highly. I think his background lends to what we need on the board there. So like I said, I sponsored him for the very first time, and I did it again this second time because I have faith in him to make a good decision on the board, and I support him wholeheartedly. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Huff. Council, any other questions or comments? Representative Golden.
Mr. Agee, thank you first for your service on the board. I just have one question, I guess, and that is, you gave the goals and objectives and what the board is doing with the gaming and so forth, but the time that you've been on there and the time, and as far as you still serving, what do you feel like you bring to the table is the most important to this gaming enterprise?
Thank you. Probably my business knowledge more than anything and experience. Like I said, the budget and financial forecasting, as well as, scrutinizing legal agreements that relate to what I do. I'm familiar with those policies, how it impacts business, the structures that we've put in place, as well as the current political environment with the state and the challenges it presents, and that we've got to stay in front of more than anything. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Representative Golden. Council, any other questions, comments? Representative Randolph.
I want to know, what do you think of Stitt?
What I think of Stitt? I like that he's pro-business. I don't like the environment he's created for our tribes, and I look forward to beating him in the business environment, for lack of a better word, or polite way to say it. I believe it's a very challenging environment with him. I hope we can, 3 years or 4 years, I guess he just got reelected, is a long time. I'm hoping we can get something to the table for sports betting before then. I think it presents a tremendous opportunity, and the other tribes will support us. But more than anything, we've got the support of all the Oklahomans from what I've seen. When I say we, I mean the tribes. We bring a lot to the communities in the form of business, jobs, and prosperity. So we've got the winning hand, in my opinion.
Thank you. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Randolph. Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I know Chairman Chris Ray had called me earlier and asked to say a few things, so I will allow him time. Chairman Ray, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Speaker. Good evening, National Council. First of all, I'm glad Speaker Hicks gave me the opportunity to speak with Mr. Agee. To Ms. Golden's question, Mr. Agee's vast and extensive knowledge of accounting, auditing, and compliance with regulatory bodies is very beneficial to our board. We have a very diverse board, and Mr. Agee brings a specific skill set that is needed by the board, and it's very much appreciated. His ability to analyze complex financial information and to provide accurate and timely recommendations to management and to our board for decision-making purposes. It's very beneficial, and we value it greatly. Mr. Agee also has experience in evaluating policies and procedures and programs to ensure compliance with all applicable laws that apply to gaming. And again, that experience, that 20+ years experience that he has in those respective fields is very much valued. And I wholeheartedly support Mr. Agee. It's been a pleasure to work with him since 2020. And I look forward to getting to work with him for many, many years to come. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Chairman Ray. Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Kevin, thank you. We'll see you Saturday morning.
Thank you, Speaker, National Council.
Next on our list is Shane Hullaby, Tribal Administrator.
Good evening, Speaker,
Good evening, sir.
Council Representatives. Well, first, I wanted to say, I know you got my resume, but 18 months ago, I could not say this. Today, I do have, an associate's degree in pre-education. I'm studying for my I get choked up on this one because this one's hard. I've had some really good support from the people behind me today, and I'm studying for a bachelor's in family studies and gerontology. What this is bringing to the table for me is how I can interact with our staff better and give better services to our citizens. I've been here for a long time, and I've seen people, how they've been treated off and on, and I've never wanted that atmosphere here for our staff. They mean a lot to me. I was in programs to where we were forgotten about, and I don't forget about them. Today, I got my facility guys right here. I got CR&D. I got other people that are here, and I care a lot about them. It's not about me, it's about them. I can say everything that I did, but it's what we did as a team. When the weather gets bad, we're here to help. I'm not here to sit and watch them work. I'm here to help them. When I've had problems in other departments, I don't run away from it. I go in there and try to help find a solution. I've worked with CHS programs. I've worked with the interior programs. I haven't backed away from any of those. My heart's with the tribe. It's always been with the tribe, and my heart's with my people back there. I know we've increased our HR staff. We've improved everything about that. I've restructured programs here to try to better it for our nation and our employees, to give them more rights, that they deserve. A lot of times, it was always the director's point of view or the cabinet's point of view. It's not that way anymore. We're changing the mentality of what we got here. I've got our HR staff. We are in the third program right now. We're looking at the SHRMS program. We're increasing that knowledge to make ourselves better. My GSA departments, we're continuing to get educated in those programs. We are working on how to manage assets better. We're trying to do everything we can to be in compliance with the federal government. Our IT department, they work so hard. I got to tell you, they really do, and I'm proud of them. They are constantly monitoring every day for threats. There are threats every day, and these people are getting so strategic on how they do things nowadays. You can get a text. If you click on that text, they get in your contacts, and it's shared throughout. We've seen that recently, but IT caught that in advance, and they protected our network. And, you know, I really care about the tribe. I may not be the smartest or anything about that, but I care about everybody here. I don't run away from everybody, you know, or pass the buck. I try to find a solution because there's always a solution to a problem. That's really all I have. If y'all want to ask me anything, I've always been an open book.
Thank you, Mr. Hullabee. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Hullabee? Ms. Barnett?
Mr. Hullabee, you said you're not the smartest, but you have a 4.0 GPA. Congratulations on
Well,
being on track to get your degree in December. Very proud of you, and I'm very encouraged by coming back and seeing a lot of familiar faces that have been doing the work, even though some of us step away at times. But I really appreciate your heart and the work that you've done so far, and I look forward to seeing more.
thank you.
Thank you, Representative Barnett. Representative Cloud?
Mr. Hullabee, I just want to say that when the last time you came up here, when you were talking, you know, it's night and day. You know, you're confident, and that's good to see, and especially when you have your employees up there that backs you, and it shows the turnaround that you know that the nation has with your guidance and with your leadership. So it shows me that all these employees that are here, you know, that are behind you. You know, I can see the change. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Hello.
All I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Cloud. Representative Golden?
Thanks, Speaker. First, Mr. Hullabee, I can remember you when you were a little boy, and I'm so very proud of you for all of the things that you have accomplished with the Muskogee Creek Nation. One of the things that you said earlier was that you restructured HR.
Yes, I have.
Okay, and I remember when HR was at the same level as the tribal administrator. So I'm just going to ask why and what brought you to changing it, and I didn't know that you were over that department.
Yep. Inconsistencies and fairness for our employees. I didn't feel that we were keeping our employee stuff confidential as it should be. And, you know, we had a limited staff of what was available. We had 4 to 5 people trying to run a program of 1,452 people. And, you know, loose lips sink ships, you know, and it was time. It's not that we wanted to make changes, but things had to be done.
Okay, so how does tribal HR work with the health HR, because there's two separate?
They are separate entities. We take care of the tribal side, and they have their own HR department. We take care of their benefits for them, but they do their own personnel. They have their own HR director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Golden. Representative Randolph?
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to say, for Mr. Hullabee, in the last 12 years, when I first met you, you were a man of vision then, you're a man of vision now. You've got a great work ethic. I've seen where you always go the extra mile. I've seen some folks that just do just what is expected of them, but you always seem to want to do more, provide more services for the nation. You've always been very professional and friendly, so I appreciate that, and I support you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Representative Randolph. Representative Gouch.
Thank you, Chair. Being on the council the past 2 years, we've met a few times. We met at the community center where you work at. You're one of the few people that I've run across where you don't think of yourself, you don't think of your position, you think of the people you support. And you don't refer to them as my workers. You refer to them as my people, because that's what you do. You think of them as part of you. And that's rare to find sometimes around the tribe. Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Gouch. Representative Crawford.
Mr. Hullaby, I just wanted to say thank you for stepping up with your leadership and your education and thinking of all our employees. So thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Deer.
Mr. Hullaby, good evening. I know when you stood up here the first time to be confirmed, you didn't have as much confidence. But today you've taken classes and you've tried to better yourself for this position. And you give your staff and the administration credit. Are there any offices that you feel like that are under you that you have responsibility for that give you a pushback on what you want or what you see needs to be changed?
In the beginning, I did. I had some pushback, from a few of them. And, I guess when they started seeing the growth of the other programs, they felt like they were being left behind. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's almost like, okay, they wanted to jump on the bandwagon and go with me. And, we can't throw them away. We just got to coach them up and give them those tools. But there has been programs that just didn't work out, and I restructured those.
Do you feel like you're there today and you can push back or you can tell them how it's going to be?
Today, I have a really good work ethic, or work relationship with everybody. When I first came in as tribal administrator, I wanted to learn all the programs. I knew of all the programs, but I didn't know them. So I took the time to meet the majority of the staff. There's not really any department I can't go to or call that I don't know somebody in, that I can put a citizen in touch with, employee in touch with, and work together. But there are at times where, at the beginning when I started, it was that guy with a high school diploma trying to tell me what to do. But it was all fun for me because I knew where I was going.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Deer. Representative Nelson Harjo.
It's pretty refreshing because when you come up here to this place, Muskogee Creek Nation, and thinking back prior to the inception of Muskogee Creek Nation, we were Indian people that just sat out there. We didn't have a government in place. We didn't have much of anything, and we sit in our communities, and all we had was who we had within our communities, and that was our place that we stayed and enjoyed each other's company. Then this place became. Then as it began to evolve, there's a lot of learning that took place. And sometimes I think we forget what that sign says about who we are. And, we might not be back at our home places, but when we come up here, this is supposed to be that particular community. Even if we have to work here and we're earning a paycheck, it's still our particular community. And I'm glad to hear you say that because, into the things that you've said, because unfortunately, we're all we have as people. And we got to take care of each other. So to me, that means a lot. That means a lot because, and you getting out there with your people and working with them, especially when you don't have to, it's funny when they see you roll up your sleeves, but then that makes them feel much better because they know who they have that's sitting over them. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty. That means a lot to employees. And so, for what you've been doing, thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
I got one thing to add real quick. Speaker. We have 1,452 employees here with the nation. 955 are Muskogee Creek, 234 native, and 200 and, I ain't got my glasses, I'm about blind again, 263 are non. So we are hiring Creek people, and we're going to continue hiring Creek people, and we're going to educate our Creek people.
Thank you, Mr. Hullaby. Council online, do you have any questions or comments? Any other comments or questions from council? Hearing or seeing none, Mr. Hullaby, thank you for your time. See you Saturday. Next, we have Zachariah Harjo, Secretary of the Nation. Again, Mr. Harjo, you will have 5 minutes to share any information you'd like, so you may begin, sir.
Jay, thank you, Speaker. As many of you know, I am Zachariah Harjo, and well, hold on, let me back up. Jay Stongo, Zachariah Harjo, Chawachifkados, Chatki Amalegara Fushwagidos. On my mother's side, I am Tachitni, born for Kea'ani, and on my father's side, I belong to the Bird Clan people. Thank you for having me. As many of you know, I have a background in public policy and law. My bachelor's degree is from the University of Kansas, which I am proudly wearing crimson and royal blue. And then also I have a legal studies master's degree from the University of Oklahoma College of Law. But some of the things that may not come up on my resume that you guys have reviewed is my time here at the Nation. And I think those are one of the things that's one of the things I wanted to cover because it has everything that I've managed and grown and learned from, and all the projects that I've been involved with have helped me do the work that I do today. And so in 2019, I came to the Nation as a technical assistance provider person that had done work with the Department of Justice grant funding. And I was selected for the project manager position for the Secretary of the Nation and Commerce. To me, that was a shock because I did not have any business background experience other than managing a budget. But like Tribal Administrator Hullaby, I've never been afraid to get my hands dirty. Immediately moving into that role, there was a number of really important projects that were assigned to me that I had no idea about and just how important they would be, but now they're projects that I work on to this day. The first being the 2.5 gigahertz tribal broadband priority window hosted by the FCC. Required 6 to 8 months of legal research on my end and has led to the Tribal Utility Authority that we know today. After 6 to 8 months of very hard work, in a field that is entirely dominated by attorneys, my public policy self was able to submit the application on the nation's behalf and acquired all the licensure within our reservation for 2.5 gigahertz. And again, that's expedited the timeline and the necessity for the Tribal Utility Authority. Beyond that, I managed the business relief program funded by the CARES Act, which resulted in 180 plus grantees. The funding amount was up to $50,000 and required calls days and nights, weekends, for months and months on end. It was probably the work for about 10 people, but I handled it because I had to make do with just myself and the office manager at the time at the Secretary of the Nation and Commerce office. That job and that particular project taught me a lot of empathy. Empathy I carry today. COVID was hard for our people, and when I was asked to become the acting secretary in 2022 after Secretary Tara Branson Thomas left, I originally declined because for me I was going through a personal apocalypse. I had lost my best friend of 2 years. I was still finishing my law degree, and I had also exited a 4-year relationship, and I wasn't ready for that type of responsibility. But this leadership, including this body and the executive office, were patient. And over the course of the year, I took the empathy and everything I learned through all the projects and all of my education and applied it to the American Rescue Plan Act. And that project and management has led to something more than 35 pieces of legislation since I came to office, appropriating more than $55 million, and requires legal review, policy development, legislative writing, project management, budgetary formation, oversight, compliance, all the above. And I was doing that single-handedly with Patricia Killian, the controller, while we were almost 2 audits behind. And there were several nights where I stayed up all night single-handedly to complete reporting that would prevent the nation from having to enter repayment for very large appropriations we made through the American Rescue Plan Act. And that's something that I had to make a decision before I was ever officially named the Deputy Secretary of the Nation of Commerce, before there was a budget that supported the Deputy Secretary of the Nation of Commerce, and before a year later, there would be a codified change in the Secretary of the Nation and Secretary of Commerce legislation and code. I waited a very long time to essentially be paid, but because I believed in the mission, and I also knew that I could help the people. I'm a Muskogee citizen, and this job has been one of the hardest but most rewarding experiences of my life. I appreciate all your leadership through it and all the support. I think my proudest accomplishment so far is completing the reporting and getting us caught up to date for a fund that is over $500 million, managing and having a hand in some other $700 billion worth of projects beyond that. And mostly, I'm proud of the Tribal Utility Authority. We're one of the only tribes in Oklahoma that has one. And frankly, we're the only tribe that is leveraging it in the way that is respectful of our sovereignty, respectful of all the court cases we've won, and is progressive in what is possible in the modern era of tribal government. So.
Thank you, Mr. Harjo. That was your 5 minutes. So again, I apologize, but I know we can keep going and going because you have a lot of information. But I got to be fair to each and every one of you, so we allotted 5 minutes. That being said, it's open for questions. Representative Harjo.
Thank you, Speaker. I don't really have a question. I just know I sat in a meeting not too long ago. And there was one that I made a report on, was a Muskogee Loan Fund, and Mr. Harjo, he came on the online and presented something to the Muskogee Loan Fund that hopefully be coming across our table soon, that really excited them, and it's going to be good for the tribe, and it's going to be good for businesses. It's going to be something that I think, once everything comes through our table, it's going to be it's going to look good. It's going to be good overall because it's going to help them to accomplish some things that they have thought about and been wanting to do but hadn't been able to do, but because of the monies that can be gained from that overall, from interest and everything else. This is something he said I don't know if I can say it just like him, but he said, I wish I'd have thought about this a long time ago. It took him just, so it's really going to be good for us once we get to see that at our table. So, no, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Harjo. Representative Randolph.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Harjo, I just wanted to say I appreciate your dedication, your commitment, your loyalty. I've seen you juggle a lot of different tasks. You're very multitask. You're good at it, and a lot of times that takes a lot of time. Your time management, and it shows your dedication. I'm thankful. I've watched you the same way I sit on the Muskogee Loan Fund, and Mr. Harjo was in on that. Every time I sit on something different, here came Mr. Harjo. And a lot have been put on your shoulders. You're a young man, but you've shown your strength and you've shown your knowledge, your skills, and your abilities. I just encourage you to keep getting stronger, keep doing a good job, and I support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Randolph.
Speaker, Representative Robert Huff.
Representative Huff, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to say that I support Zachariah. He's young, but he's been dedicated to the nation, and I've been impressed with things that he's done. And kind of like Mark said, he's juggled a lot of things on his plate, and I can appreciate that. And just want to let you know I support you. But no.
Thank you, Representative Huff. Council. got one? Representative Golden?
Yes, thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Harjo, for coming forth and sharing your background and information for us. And I appreciate that you shared some of your personal information because sometimes when you come across, when people, mostly myself, ask questions, you're a very smart person, and I really appreciate that too. You're intelligent, but sometimes you come across flippant, like you should know this, you know. And so maybe you were going through some other things, and that's why it appears that way. I don't know. So I do have a concern or a question, I guess, about your management style, because as the secretary, I don't know how many people's in your department and how, you know, you're being young and, you know, overseeing this whole department or all these departments. What is your management style?
I would say my management style is trusting. All of the managers I work with, in fact, all the employees I manage, the first conversation I have with them and have had with them is that I hope they don't look at me like their boss. Ultimately, we're coworkers because we have the same mission and we have the same employer, which is the nation. When I move to hire people and trust them in their technical capacity, I'm really relying on their ability to manage the portions of projects that I don't have the expertise in. And so my primary management style is to both set a timeline that's informed by the feedback that the employee provides, and then also make myself available for whatever type of support that they might need. Because while the planning department, they might have technical expertise on construction, they may not know how to write the legislation. And so it's a lot of, again, trusting people and their talents and their respective, I guess, contributions, but then beyond that, making sure that we're all following a timeline, and then beyond that, making sure that it's legally compliant.
Timelines are important, and so sometimes I know the reports don't come on time, and I don't know if that's you or your department or the people that you have to deal with. Sometimes.
Ms. Golden, hold that question. Let me go to another one, and we'll come back to you, okay? That way we'll make sure everybody gets their questions asked. Second speaker, you hold on one.
Thank you, Speaker. I wanted to ask you, how often do you travel? And then when you do, are you asked to provide a presentation on behalf of the tribe?
It depends. I'm asked to travel quite a lot, actually. I've tried to reduce that to about once a month. Right now, the self-governance convening for this quarter is happening in DC, and I'm thankful to have a self-governance coordinator to send to that. But previously, I was getting all of those requests and having to either field it virtually or in person. So depending on what the event is, then yes, I'm required to, well, not required, but I'm requested to either represent the nation and then follow up with some sort of briefing to the executive office. And I recently was involved in a trip at the request of the Canadian consulate to talk with some First Nations, and I do owe a report, which I'm very happy to provide to the executive office because I think it's an exciting time for our business operations and our commerce possibilities in terms of international trade. And that's one thing that we've been talking about since I came on in the form of a foreign trade zone or a national trade hub. But all of those, yes, if I represent the nation in any official capacity and whenever it's requested, I'm more than happy to provide a summary recap.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Representative Marshall.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Harjo, you had mentioned that, you know, you've worked with billions of dollars with the ARPA funds as well as the Tribal Utility Board. What else have you, what plans do you have for economic development outside of the ARPA funds and outside of the utility piece?
I'm glad you asked that. Part of it involves establishing some, I guess, international trade. We're keenly positioned as a federally recognized tribe as a sovereign, as well as outside of the city of Tulsa to make a move and have some sort of inroads on both commercial trade, potentially cold storage, and a bunch of other kind of industrial and commercial uses, given that we're keenly located on the 75 corridor. Currently, we have at least 2 projects that are hopefully moving forward in terms of development and planning that directly implement previous plans that we've had, particularly on the Loop Square Ranch, to consider business initiatives. But beyond that, I think the biggest goal of the Secretary of the Nation's office in terms of economic development is to practice and encourage the nation to use its sovereignty to support its own business means and ends. And so for me, when I look at economic development, I'm not necessarily looking at acquiring a business, although businesses can be ran and conducted by tribal government. That's not necessarily my angle. I guess more the angle might be one of the MOUs that we currently have crafted in the partnership with the City of Tulsa for the $100 million low water dam project and the subsequent tax incremental financing district that we're still in the process of negotiating with the city. So those are more actions of our sovereignty that have nothing to do necessarily with the ARPA funds. But those are kind of the business initiatives that I'm really focused on. And one of the most interesting ideas beyond ARPA, beyond any of the federal funds that we have is we have a 5,500 acre ranch, just north of here that, again, as I mentioned before, is keyly positioned for both airway traffic, port traffic, highway traffic, and railroad traffic. And there are a number of designs that we have right now to capture that, but then also utilize the sovereignty of the nation to be the mechanism behind establishing commerce. And so I think there is a relatively clear path forward, at least at this time, in terms of establishing some sort of trade zone. It does take time, but those would be the immediate, I guess, forays into business. But this sort of answers your question, and it is ARPA related. But one of the things that I believe or Representative Harjo mentioned, I do have a direct business response that I'm hoping to work out and plan utilizing some ARPA funding for the remainder of our subsidiaries that did not receive a distribution yet. It involves light planning and business development, and also invoking some of the Muskogee Loan Fund Board and their expertise to position our subsidiaries in a way that they're not just receiving distributions, but instead that we're empowering them to actually fulfill the nation's needs through their own revenue and whatnot. So there's probably a lot more answers I could provide in terms of economic development, but those are the first things that come to mind beyond the TUA.
Thank you, Mr. Harjo. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Marshall. Representative Deere.
I have a comment, Speaker. When you first come on to these positions, you're expected to know everything. People start calling you and want the answer. And you came to us with, as a young man, with good educational credentials. And I appreciate your work for this nation, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harjo.
Thank you, Representative Deere. Council, any more questions, comments? Hearing none, thank you, Zachariah Harjo. We'll see you Saturday.
I know.
Next, we have Mary Mashunkashay, Tax Commissioner. Good evening. You have 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Speaker. Good evening, Council. My report's going to be a little different tonight. First, I want to give you a little background of when I came in 2021, right towards the end of COVID. It was a little challenging during that time, but we had a plan. Chief brought me in. He sat us down and he said, this is, his goals and what he'd like to see for the nation. And for those who don't know, I know there's some new representatives here, and you have my resume. I don't need to go over it, but I have been in tribal taxation for a very long time and helped a lot of tribes. And that was the goal coming in. I want to come in and do the best that I can do to help this nation. And I think we did that. We worked hard. I have a good team. Your tax team, dedicated, hardworking. Are everybody perfect? Absolutely not. I don't think anyone is. but we do the best that we can do. And in a short time of 2.5 years that I've been here, when I came here, I was shocked when I looked at the tax code and the office and how it was run. Such a large, impressive nation who's truly a leader in Indian country and everyone looks at you. There was a lot to do. There was a lot of work to do. And so we got to work. We looked at the tax code. We started making amendments, and this body worked alongside with us and approved these to be able to take care of our citizens all across Oklahoma, to be able to give them a car tag. Was that popular? With some, maybe not. For most, yes. The most important thing is that this nation showed its sovereignty and authority over their citizens, and it got done. By doing that, we were able to grow pretty much like we thought we would. We were able to take care of citizens that hadn't been able to be taken care of in that area, and we grew the revenue, which is important in tax. It's a revenue generating department. So that's one department. As we started looking at everything, when I came in, we had one office that was a glorified tag agency. Now we have 5 offices, 5 across your reservation. And that is to reach our citizens, to serve them, to make it better for them, and to help this nation grow. We not only are going to do motor vehicle, but we're looking at the VITA program that we've grown, but we're also going to include income tax, another generating revenue idea that's going to help our citizens, help our employees. Some of the goals that we have for the future, the immediate future in this administration, we're all aware of the relationship with the state, and that's unfortunate. But we still have to grow. We still have to assert our authority and our sovereignty. Taxation is an inherent right for all nations to assert. And I'm proud to say that this nation does that. And the plans that we have further to assert our authority. So there's a lot going on in taxation. It's not always the popular discussion. It's not always the fun thing. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of studying law. A lot of people look at me and they think I'm a lawyer. Why? Because in the last 25 years, that's all I've done is study law, study codes, talk to tribes, see what everyone's doing, see what opportunities that we have to bring to the table to you as tribal leaders. So there's a lot that goes on within tax, and there's so much growth that needs to happen. But where we're at, I'm real happy with where we're at. I'm proud to say that our team is an awesome team. And working with Chief Hill, he's aggressive. Him and Second Chief, they're progressive leaders. They have good ideas, and I'm excited to be a part of that team. So with that, I just want to say one last thing. I'm resigning today. I resigned today. And I appreciate the time here with you. I know that good things are coming. I'll be a cheerleader along the way. I'll be here if you need me. And I just want to say thank you to each one of you who have supported me, supported this team, our efforts, Chief Hill, Cabinet. I've made lifelong friends and family that I'll take with me. And I love all of you, and I love this nation. Mado.
Thank you, Mary. Next, we have Mr. Jeff Fife, Chief of Staff. Good evening, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members of the National Council. That was an illustration of that. Mr. Speaker, you said I could say anything. I'm going to take this opportunity. Ms. Mashankashe, her speech was an illustration of the commitment of this cabinet. And I want to thank Mary for her service. Moving forward, you have my resume, as you do everyone else's. What you won't see is some of the things that Secretary Harjo hit on. He was very young. We asked him to step in, fill a big gap. Ms. Branson left for another opportunity, and it took some convincing to get Secretary Harjo to accept that responsibility. We have had many challenging days, and it's only compounded by our counterparts in Oklahoma City. Now more than ever, this body, these branches, and our people must stick together. That's the most important thing we can do for generations that aren't born yet. Some of the goals that I will continue pushing for is to unveil Chief's strategic plan. We've been working on this since March. Well, I came aboard in March of 22. It took a little bit to get grounded, gain some traction, because the nation grew, the responsibilities grew, and our government didn't grow with it. That strategic plan right now, in its draft form, is 123 pages long. It's roughly 36,000 words. What you won't see in my resume is between March 22 and today, I've had a few stops myself when we lose cabinet members. I've been directed, selected, chosen, blessed to fill in those vacancies. One Fire, serve as a board chair there. This last winter, we made a distribution back to the nation, the largest one in its history, over $300,000. That took a lot of work. Our Secretary of Housing, Miss Beauty, she returned home to tend to her aging mother. I've had to step into that role. Again, it is a blessing. That experience, along with what you will read in my resume, I think reflects Chief's decision to nominate me and submit me to you for confirmation. I have the experience. I've proven I will stand and move things forward. I, like the rest of the cabinet, we're not perfect, but we're here. We're responsive, and the growth of this nation is going to be unsurmountable if we can all work together. I'll take any questions you may have.
Council, any questions for Mr. Fife?
Robert Huft.
You have the floor, Representative Huff.
Thank you. I supported Jeff. I've known him for a long time. I've seen him work, and I think he's a very good asset to Chief's cabinet, and he gets things done. And I do support him wholeheartedly. Thank you. Mado, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Huff. Representative Nelson Harjo.
I've known Jeff a long time. I remember when he played quarterback at Walika. I think it was quarterback, wasn't it? Yeah. You know, sat in some meetings with him. Good thing he was hanging on to the handles on the seat, because when we met with Okmulgee here at the county, it got a little tough in there, and it was for good reason. And I've seen him stand up and heard him, and then we've all seen him stand up as he's taken on the different tasks from when the secretaries moved, I guess you would say, in a different direction and left on the cabinet, and especially when it come to One Fire, and he brought word to us, and there again, he stood up real strong for the tribe. And so the now in housing, and you know, I don't know how anybody does it when you have a particular job, and then especially with a tribe this big, and then you take on a second part. That's a lot of work. But I do appreciate what you've been doing, and I too give my support for him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Harjo.
Thank you. You only ask one question.
And then I'll come back to you if you have another.
Didn't know that. So
Just said it, my fault. Representative Golden.
thank you, sir. Mr. Fife, I have noticed that you have worn a number of different hats since you first came. And it appears that you have done the jobs of those positions. So my hat's off to you for jumping on and off the different horses that you've had to do. I guess the only question I have is being on the cabinet and being at the top as far as the complex, how do you keep or maintain your relationships with the different communities and the citizens?
Thank you for that question. That's a valid question. And my response to that question is my time back as Chief of Staff, time in the communities has been difficult outside of visiting the church I grew up at and my commitment to Ojibova. Right before Christmas, in one of our cabinet meetings, I challenged and encouraged our cabinet, including myself, to be more involved in our communities. Our people need to know who we are. Our chief attends meetings at the communities throughout the week, all over this nation. We should pick up that slack. My answer is I haven't had time to spend in our communities. But the response is all of the cabinet needs to spend more time there. And that's going to be very important in this growth I talk about. We now have 3.2 million acres of Muskogee Nation. We need to grow in every area. We need governmental service buildings. We need to be able to, we need to stop. I know Representative Marshall and Representative Osborne know that drive from Holdenville to Okmulgee. That's difficult when you come here to do business and you have limited resources. That's why in my time, we've identified properties. This body has blessed the nation with those acquisitions, and staffing those buildings one day a week or twice a month, that's inadequate. We need people in those buildings every day of the week. That's growth. That creates opportunity. So I drifted away from your original question, but I appreciate that question and the opportunity to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Fife. Hang on, let me clarify something. I want to apologize to Ms. Golden because she had more questions earlier and I only allowed her one. And the reason I did that is because we have 16 representatives, and if each one asks a question and a question and a question, it's going to take away time from other representatives. So that's why I allowed one question. So if she has another one, she's more than welcome to ask it, but I want to go to another representative to give them ample time first. With that being said, Representative Cloud.
Mr. Pop, I'd just like to add on what Representative Golden just said just a while ago about wearing many different hats. I've seen you put on different hats at Ojibwa. When asked to do things, you just do it, and no questions asked. There's things at the nation that I've seen that you have taken on, and I've seen that from you, the leadership that you do have and the interactions that you do have with our staff. So I appreciate that from you. And I know that when I do call on you, or if I ask you, send you an email, I know it's going to be taken care of, and I'll get a response back. And that's just not from you, it's from the other staff, the other directors that I do. And that's from the leadership that comes, and it just trickles down. So I just want to tell you my dope for that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative Cloud. Council, any other questions? Representatives online? Representative Randolph.
Mr. Fife, I just want to thank you again for your loyalty, your commitment, your determination, and your knowledge. You're an asset here, so thank you.
Thank you, Representative Randolph. Any other questions, comments? Representative Barnett.
Kept looking at me because he knew I couldn't help myself. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your prompt responses to anything and everything that's been sent your way since I've been back in my current position. Also, I know you didn't brag on yourself, but I want to brag on you, how much I admire you continuing your own education while also financing the education of your son. That is hard to do. It's hard to juggle a workload like the nation gives you and also getting your degrees and then having time for your grounds and having time to raise a child and, well, a man now. Very nice man now, but I just want to say I admire that because it takes a lot of fortitude. It shows the strength that you have, and I appreciate that.
No. Thank you, Representative Barnett. Council, any other comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, Mr. Fife, thank you. We will see you Saturday.
No.
Next, we have Patricia Killian, Controller and Secretary of Treasury. Good evening, ma'am.
Day, Speaker, National Council, Chief. You know, I thought I was going to have this prepared speech for today, but I think I just want to come before you, and I know you see my resume. I do come with over 30 years' experience in accounting. I've been with the tribe for almost 12 years. I was given that opportunity when I first came to the tribe to start out as a cash and investment accountant and work my way up. The controller at the time allowed me to, move forward, research, and build my experience. So that gave me that tribal government experience that I did not have. I did go off to another department. But when I came back, I was asked to come back, and later on, I knew that I was going to be facing some challenges, but I felt like that experience was going to help me. And I also knew that my experience as my family that I had, who taught me that it was very important to work hard, take pride in what you're doing and work hard. So I knew that challenge was there, and I needed to know how I was going to face that. So as soon as I came into the department, I gathered my directors at the time, and we started to evaluate and prioritize what needed to be done. So I knew that what needed to be done initially was to actually get the 20 audit completed, and then be able to look at what else did we need to do within that department. Trying to move forward, made it difficult with being behind. But we came together as the Office of Treasury, and we worked together. We made some changes. We worked long hours. Not only did I work long hours, but I had staff that worked long hours because that's what we wanted to do. We needed to do, we wanted to do, to get caught up, move forward, and that was something that we needed to do for the nation. That was very important, to us. It wasn't an easy job. So once we did that, we evaluated, and then we, like I said, we made some changes, and now we needed to look forward. What do we need to do also besides being caught up on the audits to move forward? I consider the Office of the Treasury as customer service to our departments and to our nation. So we work hard every day to try to come together for those departments and see what we can do to help them get things accomplished even in their area. We use the Munis accounting system. That was primarily being used just for the accounting side of it. But we knew there was other things within that system that needed to be developed so that we could actually, help our departments. So, initially we used the system, for our accounts payable, the capital assets, budgeting, and general ledger. And then we recently moved forward with the project and grant accounting. There's many other modules to that we want to develop and use to help our departments. We want to work together on the HR side, also with the purchasing cards. So there isn't a module in there that we can use once we bring on the purchasing cards to help our departments in an area that we lack right now. It seems like there's so many things I want to say, but I think the one thing that I want to say is how I know we came together, we worked hard to try to move forward and accomplish the things that need to be accomplished within the Office of the Treasury. There's things that we need to actually provide and be able to provide that on a timely manner. So that is one of the areas that, as Chief of Staff Fife was stating about our strategic plan. So we know that our close-in process takes a bit of time, so we want to move forward to be able to start that a little earlier. That's going to come with developing our staff that we have within the Treasury, provide that training to them, maybe bring others on. Am I 5 minutes? Okay.
I apologize. You have your 5
That's fine.
minutes.
Thank you.
Council, any questions for Ms. Killian? Representative Cloud.
Patricia, what is the status on our audits?
We are currently working on the 22 audit, which we hope to accomplish within the next month and a half. And then as soon as we're done with the 22 audit, we will move right on into the 23 audit. And then at that point, we hope to be up to date and caught up.
You good with that question, Mr. Cloud? Okay. Representative Nelson Harjo.
I just want to commend you on the things you've done. I mean, it was, I think at the beginning, the way everything was looking, it almost looked like an impossible task because you were thrust in a position that, there was just so much here, waiting on you. And audits, it just seems like even though you're gonna finish up on this, but then hopefully get the other one done in a timely manner, that, it's just like they never end. So it's never an easy thing, and then to try to accomplish other tasks and look at other things that you could do to help improve us, it's a pretty difficult thing, and I can understand that, but, again, I want to commend you, and I'm hoping that you have hired more people, because I think that was one of the last conversations that we had with you.
Correct. We are in that process. We have brought on a couple of new accountants. It's just it's a process, and sometimes we're not able to find the candidates that we need to fit those positions, but we are making progress on that.
Good, good. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Representative Harjo. Representative Deere.
Tricia, there are certain criteria and requirements for this position. Do you feel like you meet those requirements?
I come with an accounting degree and a management degree, and right now I'm, like I think I've said before, I'm down to the last couple of classes for my MBA. I do believe so. I know that question has been brought up as far as, whether I'm a CPA or not. I do want to say that, when we take those accounting classes, we all have to take the same accounting classes. They do, yes, move forward and take an additional test to become a CPA. But I think with my years of experience and also serving as a controller in the banking side before, and being involved in the audits, we were not only audited by an external accounting firm, but we were also audited by the government in the banking area. So I do come with that type of experience, and then like I have said, coming in when I initially came in back in 2012, I was given that opportunity to learn from the ground up everything in the Office of the Treasury, and given that opportunity to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Deere. Second speaker, Thomasina Hall Osborne.
Thank you, Speaker. Ms. Killian, I can't give you the number of grant applications the National Council approves, but once the National Council approves the legislation to expend the funding, can you explain what happens after that?
Yes. So when they approved for the grant, approved the grant to be able to spend that, so once it is signed and it comes back to our office, it goes to the budget office, and they put the budget on for that particular grant. So then it's made available for that department to see and be able to expend on. They also, in that time, there is certain reporting, that is done on whether it's a monthly, quarterly type basis for those particular grant funds.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, second speaker. Representative Cloud.
Patricia, are we fully staffed down there at the department?
I think we have 2 positions that we're interviewing for right now, and I have one accountant that we thought we were going to have be able to hire, and we're going to have to interview again. So I just have 2 positions, and there are actually 2 new positions on this last budget.
Thank you, Representative Cloud. Representative Golden.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Killian, thank you for being here and answering the questions and sharing with us your work that you do. You mentioned earlier about the Munis accounting system, and then you explained the process of how when the grants come in. At one time, the Light Horse Commission was having some difficulties with the budget and matching all the funds that were coming in, and they were locked out of the accounting system, Munis. So how did you help them bridge that gap and be able to conduct their business?
If anybody is having issues in that system, they just need to let us know so that we can go in with our Munis support or to unlock that system, but also to provide training. Any department that has anybody new coming in, if they let us know, we can provide that training for them to be able to use the system.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Golden. Council, any other
Speaker,
questions?
Speaker Representative Huff.
Go ahead, Representative Huff.
Yes. Patricia, I appreciate you coming in and stepping into a hornet's nest, because it's not easy to come into an accounting position and you have like do 2 or 3 years of audits that have to be done. And I know how that goes just to do one audit. And I'm glad to hear that you lack 2 classes on your MBA. And yeah, I'm a very big proponent of having somebody have a CPA, but I think sometimes I look at that and having an MBA, having the experience is just as good as that CPA also too. But also, let me ask you, could you see a different structure of the accounting department at Creek Nation?
Could I see a different structure? Is that your question?
Would you like have a CFO, then have the controller? Would that something you would look at to say, hey, maybe we need that kind of a different structure, given how big we are as a
Yes.
tribe?
Yes, we have discussed that on many occasions, trying to expand and maybe arrange. I have, at intertribals, I have actually spoke with other tribes to kind of see what their setup in their treasury office is like. So yes, we are looking at that and trying to make those changes to develop something that would help, because, yes, as he says, we grew as a nation, and the finance department was an area that had not grown in the years past to accomplish that, because, we not only had a lot of changes as far as things happening, within our nation, to also, as mentioned before, having almost $500 million in addition to the budgets we already have come in with those additional transactions and everything, with how you can spend that money. That's something with any of the federal funds, you have to know how you can spend that money, and we have to, monitor that. So, yes, we have looked at maybe changing the structure, bringing on some of those additional positions, like you said, the CFO, within that department.
I appreciate it, and I do support you. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Huff. Representative Harjo.
Yeah, along with that particular question he asked, it's restructuring and, looking at something different, because I know we have some businesses within the tribe now. And have you ever thought about the restructuring of having what you would consider more of a true business side to our finance department? Because I know it may be a little bit different in the structure as far as handling, the BIA funds and all these other things, to where dealing with the business side, that would be something that the businesses could always see what they have and have access to a lot of different areas. Because you guys may not be structured to do things of that nature right now because of BIA funds and such, so forth. So have you ever thought about that part of it too as well?
As far as any of the businesses,
Yes.
They do perform their audits themselves, but that is sent to us during our audit time. Now with like BI funds, that would just be our federal funds that we, process just like we do any other type of grant. So we're still in that talk process and how we want to restructure, but we will do something just because of the growth of the nation, and we need to be able to handle that within our department.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Representative Harjo. Representative Cloud.
Thank you, Speaker. I just have one more. Patricia, during the time that we were going through our audits, catching up with our audits, and did we get anything from the IRS, maybe threatening letters or any letters like that of if we didn't complete it in a timely manner or anything like that?
From the IRS?
Or the grants department or anything?
I mean, any time if you're saying because we had an audit, that might be behind. We also just definitely monitor all of those funding agencies because they will, send an email or a letter to us to say, we haven't received your audit, or if it's behind, we do have to provide a response to them. But most of them have been working with us and granted an extension if need be. So, yes.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Representative Cloud. Council, any other questions, comments? Representative Randolph.
Mrs. Killian, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done. And like everyone's already said, you came into a big challenge and you've done really well, so thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Representative
you.
Randolph. Council, any other questions, comments? Hearing none. Thank you, Patricia. We'll see you
Thank you,
Saturday.
Mado.
Next, we have Attorney General Jerry Weisner. Good evening, Ms. Weisner.
Good evening.
You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Jerry Weisner, Jaho Chifkados, Muskogee, Obanagan, Keithleen, and Gomez. I am proud and honored to be the Attorney General for the Muskogee Creek Nation. I also want to share with you what I see our nation going through. We are in historic times. At no other time has the Muskogee Nation, as well as Indian country, faced so many obstacles as we have. We have never had as many cases pending federal court, pending Supreme Court review, pending our own court, than we have right now. We are the tip of the spear. We have been referred to as the tip of the spear. We go to the 5 Tribes Intercouncil, and everyone wants to know, what does the Muskogee Creek Nation say? I go to the Federal Bar Association meetings and regularly asked, what does the Muskogee Creek Nation say? People are following us. Nations are following us and what the Muskogee Creek Nation does. And what you do is very important and impactful, and tribal nations are watching. The state of Oklahoma is watching. The United States is watching what we are doing, because right now we are serving in that leader capacity. McGirt was just the beginning. Since then, there was the Castro Huerta decision right out of Tulsa that had an unfortunate impact based on how the United States Supreme Court analyzed that case and applied a brand new application to what we have understood as the canons of Indian law. Following that, Hooper versus the city of Tulsa, Brackeen, an Indian child welfare case that the Muskogee Creek Nation signed on as an amicus. Fortunately, the Supreme Court came down and upheld the Indian Child Welfare Act, but please know that that is not the end. The state of Oklahoma has continually challenged and tried to redefine the Indian Child Welfare Act. We currently have a case, SJW. I had mentioned this about 6 months ago when we had a working session. I talked about all the cases we have. We are still under attack. We had, after Hooper, we had Muskogee Creek Nation, because they continued to ignore the federal courts and the Muskogee Nation in our attempts to work with them and say, we're neighbors, we're partners, you happen to be on the Muskogee Reservation. They continued to ignore federal law. So we've turned around and we filed against G.T. Bynum, Chief of Police Franklin, and their lead attorney, supporting the sovereignty of the Muskogee Creek Nation, our self-determination, and the rule of law that was set forth in McGirt. We've also had the Strobel tax case that many nations are absolutely watching. A lot of our tribal members are watching. We had oral arguments before the Oklahoma Supreme Court recently. I feel strong about that, and if it doesn't come down, I know that we have great grounds to appeal. One of the challenges we face is that there is law in place. The tax law has been in place for years. If you are an Indian person, if you are working within your tribe, you do not pay personal income tax. But suddenly when it comes to the Muskogee Creek Nation, a different law wants to be assessed upon us. You don't get to change that law when it comes to the Muskogee Creek Nation, but yet we face that continually. There's a Dio case and a Long case. Those are criminal matters that crept up out of Eufaula and the area. There are criminal matters which are a reflection of many other criminal cases where state partners, prosecutors, law enforcement regularly ignore the law of McGirt of if you're an Indian, the tribe will prosecute you if you committed that crime in Indian country. The states continue to ignore that law. We must face that challenge, or we lose that opportunity. We lose our sovereignty, our self-determination, and McGirt falls flat on its face because the Muskogee Creek Nation, as people are looking at us, did we assert that jurisdiction? Did we assert those laws? Did we stand up in a nation? Those questions are regularly asked of us, as well as civil cases. The Witt case out of the Tulsa County. It's a civil eviction case. Williams v. Long has long said that any eviction case on a reservation must be on that tribe's tribal court. Well, we have a reservation. We have eviction cases, but they are not being heard in our tribal courts. And Tulsa thinks that they should be held to a different standard and should do things differently. Again, stepping on, treading on, ignoring our laws, federal laws, and other laws that apply to us.
Ms. Weiser, I'm sorry, it was your 5 minutes.
Oh, that went fast.
So,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
council, any questions for Ms. Weiser? Ms. Golding, Representative Golden, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Ms. Wisner. First of all, you know, I'm very proud because you came from Wilitka, and so you're sort of like family, you know. I know you said a lot of things about the overall, what the nation is about and what people how they look at us and that sort of thing. So I guess I'm saying, you know, in this position, it requires like 110% of protection for our nation and our citizens. And so I have a concern when I hear things like loss of personnel and how many cases we win or lose, and then some of the legislation that we've tried to, for example, the tort claims, that was supposed to have been done some time ago, and it hasn't. So I know you said a lot of things, but I want to know what have you contributed to this office?
Thank you. All of those cases I mentioned, with the exception of, with the exception of Castro Huerta, the Muskogee Creek Nation has been involved in every single one of them, either as a direct party or as an amicus. I have overseen those. We have also, I also want to bring to your attention, because I'm glad you brought this up. There are a lot of cases that have yet to be given the light of day. For example, we have a lot of tribal members who are illegally being arrested by Muskogee County, by other jurisdictions, Muskogee County, McIntosh County, and they're being held sometimes to 4 to 6 weeks, pending what's being called a McGirt hearing. There is no such thing procedurally as a McGirt hearing, but these counties and their prosecutors say that it is a hearing to make sure that the arrestee is in fact Native. When they pull them over, the vehicle expresses and is carrying a tribal tag. The suspect at that moment hands a driver's license and a tribal ID, and yet they are still arrested and taken to county. Those are a lot of the cases that yet have to give the light of day. It's illegal for them to do that. They take those monies, they take the bond, and then when they finally dismiss the case, they keep them. There's no return to our tribal members. I am working with civil attorneys to bring in a 1985 case, a civil action against these counties who continually feel it's okay to walk across and step upon Indian people as well as the reservation. And on that note, I just want to share with you just a moment some of the things that I've heard at those meetings, at the county meetings and different things that I have heard people refer to as the Muskogee Nation as angry, these are coming from angry non-Indians. We are attacked by hostile media, state law enforcement personnel who simply do not respond because they find out people are Indian. Or they drive away when they realize a victim is Indian. Or they say to our tribal people, "Who do you think you are?" That our prosecutors are subpar. That our Indian people are just drunken Indians. That our light horse are not real police. That our people are dog-eating Indians. That we have a kangaroo court. That Indians just live this way. They choose to live this way. And that Indians really are savages. So in the light of that, that's what our law enforcement, my office, are standing against to show that it is different, that the stereotypes we rise above, we are leading by example of good sound law, of good cases, of standing up in front of and in spite of all of these name-calling that they do to our people and to us and to me. Yes, we'll stand up and we'll defend our people. There are many more issues to address, but thank you, Ms. Golden. I appreciate that.
Representative Randolph.
Thank you, Speaker. As a national council, we passed legislation for your office to file a lawsuit against the Oklahoma Tax Commission. It's been a year and a half, 2 years or so. We also released $500,000 to finance this lawsuit. This has never happened. Why?
I'm going to be cautious with my answer just because I know we're in an open forum. I would say strategically, the Strobel case was ahead as opposed to brand new litigation. We still stand prepared with that. That's an example of many of the other cases we have. The Muskogee Creek Nation has not been a party to much, if not most, of this litigation. McGirt wasn't ours. Hooper, Castro Huerta. We have had to step in as an amicus. So as we are watching the tax case I'll refer to, that was just argued in front of the Oklahoma Supreme Court, those next steps may be that opportunity for the Muskogee Creek Nation to step in with that fund and with that prior authorization to be able to move forward with that case. It was only a strategic measure that it was not acted upon simply because of timing and where the cases were as far as starting brand new and those who had already percolated in front of the Oklahoma Supreme Court.
Thank you, Ms. Weisner. Thank you, Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Representative Randolph. Council, any other questions? Representative McHenry.
I think I have two questions, maybe one. Where will the nation be if you are put back into the AG position? And where will we be if you're not?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, I'd like to say, where will we be if your reconfirmed nomination is reconfirmed as the AG? in the next 2 years? And where will we be if it's not?
Before you respond, I'll give you 5 minutes to respond to that.
Thank you. One of the things that I would like to think is in developing the Office of the Attorney General. When I stepped in, it was several attorneys who were working on cases. And what I have brought is structure. We now have a criminal division we have a major crimes, we have a domestic violence division, we have a child maltreatment, which is physical abuse and sexual assault, and we have gangs and drugs cases. All of those are a specialty. Rather than having an attorney off the street who has done maybe some divorces and guardianships, we need trained attorneys who become prosecutors, who also have our culture and our nation at the heart of what we do. So I'm trying to train attorneys to become prosecutors for that. We also have a civil division where we are working to streamline all the contract reviews and all of the matters for the nation to be able to go a lot smoother, that things are not lost, and that division has a process and procedure. I was very honored to hear all of the divisions, all of the cabinet members, and people who are here. I have sat down and worked with them from housing to Veterans Affairs to education, oil and gas, community and human services. Every one of those departments has codes that they want to develop. If not, pending litigation, that because they are regularly in their own trenches trying to fight out matters, that they want help from me, I will stand with them. That's our civil division. Then I have the Children and Family Services, which my heart regularly goes to. In our Children and Family Services, I have 3 prosecutors and 1 support staff, taking care of all of the issues for our nation. I am looking for prosecutors to not only help with the Indian Child Welfare Act, our children who have issues and family concerns within the nation, but also in the state of Oklahoma. Right now, we have not yet found, and we have not been able to expand, nor has it been addressed to this point, all of the children in the United States who are Muskogee Creek. And there are a lot. We have over 100,000 tribal members, and not all of them live here. But my office will stand ready to say, through the Indian Child Welfare Act, we are the Muskogee Nation. That is a Muskogee child, and we will stand up for them. So we're building that office to work better with all of our departments so they know that they have the support of our office. If they have legal questions, we will help them and support them as they develop as well. As I mentioned earlier, my heart and my passion goes to child abuse. I'm a 20-year criminal prosecutor. I'm a former Marine, so if I had any leadership style or example, it would absolutely be leadership by example. I'm the last one usually to leave the office, and I walk around my office and I check with everyone. Do you need help? Why are you still here? Because I'm still here. What do we need to do? Because I want you to go home, and I want to go home. But I'm here to help, and that's leadership by example. I take care of my team, and my team also reaches out to everyone to take care of them. Going to the communities, they have questions. Communities on tags, there were a lot of fears that came up after the governor stood up and said, well, we're going to get them. No, he didn't, and he was unable to. But at any given time, my office is prepared to stand up and say, this is the law, and we stand beside it. Communities had approached me with sex offenders who were running around the community. And I connected them with all of those things, all of the resources, and did educational programs. Monday and Tuesday of next week, I have over 350 law enforcement, judges, prosecutors, and advocates coming to River Spirit for a child maltreatment conference. It's called Justice on the Reservation. I've never been so proud of anything as I am this Justice on the Reservation. I have tried to talk to Tulsa County, to Sheriff Maxwell in Hughes County to say, we're here, we're at the table. You need to work with us and you need us, but we want to work with you as well. Instead of trying to do that, my approach now is I'm going to build a training with nationally recognized experts on sexual abuse, trauma, Indian country jurisdiction. Also on the cusp of new matters that I will bring to the council's attention is artificial intelligence and technology facilitated crimes, where they can put any face on any kind of manipulated video to move it forward, and it appears, and we don't know without this training whether there has actually been sexual assault or not, or any kind of CSAM, child sexual abuse material. We need to know that, and our nation needs to pass those laws to keep our people safe. So we have over 350 people registered. I have about maybe 40 people who are on a wait list who want to attend. And we've just put this together. I want this to be an ongoing training, Justice on the Reservation. Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Representative McHenry. Representative Golden.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you for letting me ask this one question because it came up at a community meeting last night. And since you described the different departments that you're putting together, they had purchased equipment through the diabetes program, exercise equipment, and they were told that they can't use the equipment until they get a liability statement or something from the AG's office. And they've been waiting several months. And so I don't know if other communities are having the same experience, but that is one thing that you described, that it happens in your department. So how's that going to be handled?
Well, I appreciate your question, and this is the first that's coming to my attention because I have been made aware of other matters that have been concerned in that community, and we have looked to. It shouldn't take that long. I think now with the magnitude, every department is sending us contracts. So we went from having a couple-day turnaround to approximately 3 to 4 weeks. If it's longer than that, we will tell them, you'll get a receipt when you turn in a contract. You'll get basically a receipt that says this is the attorney signed to it, this is the time frame you should anticipate it back, and if you don't hear back, please call us and we'll follow up on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Golden. Representative Harjo.
You know, she mentioned something down there about diabetes. You know, I talked to a health person one time not too long ago, and they were talking about all the information they had on diabetes and everything, and the company that was supplying the particular things for diabetic was wanting to do a study on our people, and they said, no, that's going to be something for us. And I would assume that we've become pretty good experts in the neighborhood of diabetes awareness and prevention and all these different things. And I say that because of this is how many experts do we have out there on the McGirt case? How many other experts that we could bring in to be here? And if you was to leave, if a lot of our people were to leave with this knowledge that they've gained up to this particular point, is it that easily to replace people because of having the experience of the McGirt case? And that's why I say that about the diabetes, because I would almost assume what we have on board now, that we have more experience with it because we were at the heart of all these things. So it makes me wonder, you know, how difficult it would be to find somebody that could replace the experience that we have now within that particular manner. That's my question. How many people do you think we can find?
I appreciate your question. In my experience, I've only run across a couple of prosecutors or attorneys, let me say, who have the experience both of criminal, family, and civil. And at the end of the day, and forgive me, but the give a damn for your people, that's hard to find in any interview. That's hard to find in just looking through resumes. People who are there from the time the clock starts and the sun rises until afterwards, and still asking people, how can I help you? Answering the phone 24 hours a day because I give a damn about my people. That's what I do, and that's what I will bring to you. I know many of you have called me on situations, and I have been there. I hope you felt that I was there to answer the call or text or email, because that is the level of commitment. And Miss Golden, you're right. I did come from Walika. I was barefoot many times, waiting on the commodity truck, and I fought hard to get where I am. And Miss Barnett, in my life of having to fight, of standing up because somebody said my mama was too fat, or that I was a dirty Indian kid, or in any way making fun of me, I learned to stand with my back straight. And today is my mom's birthday, and she's been passed now 2 years. She did teach me, people will look at you differently because you're Muskogee, because you're Indian. When you walk in a room, it doesn't matter that you're not wearing the fanciest clothes. It's how you walk and how you carry yourself. You hold your head up and you walk in that room like you own the place, and people will know that. I said, but Mama, we're Muskogee. She was like, you walk in that room like you own the place because you're walking and Muskogee people are walking with you. You need to be strong for them. I've heard things like that all my life. In this opportunity and in this position, I have not, I don't want to in any way put myself out, but in that sense, I have not come across anyone that has all of the experiences, and at the end of the day, the give a damn to stand up for our people. If a news channel is out there and somebody calls me and says, hey, there's a news channel out there, maybe they want to do another smear story on the Muskogee Creek Nation, I'll go talk to them. I'll go intimidate them. I'll go find out what's going on. They are our friends. I want us to have a good reputation. I want our Muskogee people to be proud. We had the Okmulgee jail incident just before Christmas. And I will tell you now, I was really concerned. But for Lighthorse standing there and standing strong, for them who risk their lives for us every day and get called all these names, dog-eating Indians, they're not real cops, where you got a kangaroo court, they stand up and they take it every day. I will stand in front of them and say, get behind me. I'm going to go fight for you. After the press release went out and I made my statements, I heard some of the things that made me feel the most proudest. And it wasn't that you did a good job, we're proud of you. It was not that at all. It was that these very calloused, experienced officers with big vests and guns, they said, you made us proud. You made us feel like we can walk taller. You made us feel good to be Muskogee. It's a good day to be Muskogee. And for that, I will come with you with that and a lot more. I am proud to be Muskogee. I am proud to be Tustenuggee. I'm proud to be the Attorney General.
Thank you, Representative Harjo. Ms. Weisner, Representative Randolph.
Ms. Weisner, we fought hard for freedom of press and for Freedom of Information Act. Mm-hmm. Is there an employee in your office that deals specifically with applications for FOIA?
Thank you for that question. As it has been divided in family, civil, and criminal, a FOIA request would go to the civil division. And we are still streamlining those processes, but it should be in the civil division. And if there is any delay after they've made a request, the receipt that I had mentioned, please follow up. I have overworked employees that I'm still trying to hire for, that may be the case, but I would, please call them and let them know.
I've had reports that people have submitted FOIA requests and that they've never even been responded to. And one of the things I think that it's important for FOIA and for freedom of press is we wanted to offer transparency to our citizens. We wanted our citizens to be able to ask for information that should be public, but for whatever reason they have to go through FOIA. and it's not working, and it makes me feel like, why did we institute this law if we're not going to utilize it, if it's not going to be respected? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Randolph.
I appreciate that. And if
Ms.
it,
Weisner,
oh, not a,
there's no comment. It was just a comment from Representative Randolph. Any other questions, council? Mr. Randolph, would you like a response from Ms. Weisner on that comment?
What's that?
Would you like a response from Ms. Weisner on your comment, your last comment?
No, sir, I was just letting her know that there was people that they don't receive responses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, any other questions? Council online, any questions? Representative Gouch.
When McGirt happened, there was talk about the flood of cases coming in, and we were not able to utilize our resources because we didn't have enough courts, didn't have enough judges, didn't have enough prosecutors. There was discussions having established courts or circuit courts around the tribe. Has that been resolved, or where are we at on that?
thank you for your question. I think that it is an ongoing development. We have such a high number of cases. We would probably be in relation to that of Tulsa County. If we look at our 3.2 million acres of our reservation, we have 11 counties. And within each of those counties is a district court. So the tribal members don't have to go very far. So they go to Okfuskee County, McIntosh County. I look forward to our courts in that further development. There have been discussions about that, and I think that that would ease not only the burden of our dockets, but also alleviate the travel problems and concerns of our tribal members, of having to come all the way from Holdenville or from far destinations, maybe with children, maybe with elders, travel all that way here, and then sit all day for a case. Representative Barnett, I was glad that you sat with this. I mean, that was a long day for our tribal members to sit there. I think that the district courts or our district's courts would be one way to address and alleviate some of this backlog and some of the bottleneck, as well as the burden that our tribal members experience in trying to get to dockets.
Hold that question, Representative Gouch. Council, any other questions? Representative Harjo, then I'll come back to you.
I just have a comment I want to make. You know, I kind of look at everything, and I've even talked with Chief at different times and different ones, and you know, we got over 100-something thousand people now within this tribe. Then when McGirt happened, it seems like again we had a backlog of cases that came our way, something we didn't have prior to. And, you know, I think, unfortunately, we wasn't really fully ready or equipped to respond to everything, and I don't know that we really are now. And so I can see sometimes because of the issues of McGirt and what it's handed to us that we have never dealt with before, that it's not that we're not trying to do our best, but I think sometimes it's just a fact that our table got a lot more fuller than what we really expected, and makes it real difficult to keep up with sometimes. So, but thank you.
Thank you, Representative Harjo. Representative Gouch.
Thank you, Speaker. If you were confirmed, can you specify what your plans are to resolve this issue?
Thank you. One of the ways, as I mentioned, to resolve this issue is not only working with the court to establish the district courts, but also get away from just this Western court, either a peacemaker's court, a veterans court, a domestic violence court. There are other courts that can have specialty resources and victim services, as well as perpetrator services that can help those cases. So they're not packed in the auditorium all day long where there were no victim services. Those types of smaller courts that are specific, tailored courts, will be able to provide those specific services. Those are one of the things that I want to see implemented. I believe our people need it. With all of the resources and the services that we have, they want to be put to use. They want to be used. And it helps that revolving door system of seeing certain defendants over and over when we know a lot of trauma, historical trauma, intergenerational, and hurt people hurt people. I want to stop it, and the way to stop it is with our services, with our implementation of culturally appropriate ways to address this, and I believe smaller courts would be a definite way to lessen the load so they can get better services, and it's not a cattle call. Next, next, next. I have 700 cases in one day. There is no way realistically we can get those services to them. If there are smaller courts and smaller dockets, we would be able to give those services to our people who need them.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Gouch. Representative Ann Marshall.
Ms. Wisner, I know last term I had talked to Judge Wiley and I had talked to Kevin Dillinger and some other people about a possibility of a traveling court. And with you talking about the smaller court services, would traveling courts work with the way that you just described about one for domestic violence and one for this and one for that? Because I know that I've come with some of our families and I've seen the chaos up there, and I've worked with them, and some of them would be here, they'd get here at 8, and then by 11:30, the judge would say they're canceling the docket for the afternoon, was canceling the rest of the docket. So they took the kids out of school because the judge wanted to talk to the children, and then so the kids are like running around and everything. And so after seeing that 3 or 4 times, I approached them about a possibility of a traveling court. We have the DHS building in Holdenville that would be an excellent place to have that. Particularly, we have a lot of people from Holdenville that come up this way, and I think it would benefit the people there because many of them have transportation issues. But what are your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Representative Marshall. And while I applaud traveling courts, what I would like to see for the longevity is established courts that reflect our name, reflect who we are and what we're doing as the District Court of the Tocobachi District. That's, if I may, that's another way that my prosecutors are now in reinforcing our sovereignty. It's not Hughes County, with all due respect. That's our Tocobachi District, and it needs to reflect that. So it would say the District Court of, and that shows some permanency, some longevity. We're not here until the wheels fall off. We're here forever. And although I think a traveling court may be a good temporary fix, I would look forward to having fixed structures with our name and with those services being set and being provided.
Thank you, Ms. Wisner. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Marshall. Council, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Wisner. We will see you Saturday.
So.
Okay, at this time, Principal Chief, would you like to have some time to address any cabinet members? Would you like to go into executive session to do this?
When I was getting interviewed. No. Speaker Mado, and I want to thank all the council representatives. And as you heard during their interview, especially all the ones that's interviewing tonight, and I know you have some Saturday, as you can tell, they all have heart. And also, you can see out of those 2, 4, 6, 7, 4 of them actually were promoted from within. Our first one was Shane Hullaby. I've seen his work experience, his knowledge, and promoted him up to trial administrator. The first thing I asked him, Shane, if you go as acting, are you willing to take classes? And he did. He finished. And he didn't stop. He just kept on going.
With his work experience, he's seen the things that he can improve in that position, especially during the big snowstorms we had, ice storms. He's seen, and he, like you said, he got out there and helped. Another one is Zachariah Harjo, who worked with the tribe. With his experience and knowledge, what he did, just graduated from law school. Good experienced guy. I mean, he's knowledgeable of what he had, just getting the experience. And you can see where he's at now. Patricia, Patricia was previously a controller years ago and worked with the Conservation District, and someone that I needed to get us back on track. Was in desperate need to get back on track, and she got us through. And Raylan Butler, what can you say about her with her knowledge? And Jeff Five, I served with him probably 4 years on the council. I knew he had experience of legislation coming through, served in law enforcement, and I originally had him serving on the Light Horse Commission. Someone I hate to lose on that, but definitely he's been a great asset to our executive branch as chief of staff. Like I say, he wears many hats. Doesn't bother him. Miriam Musungshay, who's going to be, you had asked a question, Representative McHenry. If not, approve, what will we lose? This is definitely going to hurt. He's been a fighter. Someone is going to be hard to replace. But we still got to move forward. And we will. We'll still move forward. And she told me she's a phone call away if I need her. I mean, that tells you a lot about her. And the rest, which will be interviewed Saturday, same thing. You've got individuals here that have moved the nation forward. Different programs that we've added, increased, employment in different areas. As Shane had mentioned, we've seen a lot of the Creek citizens that have been employed. We're at the top, and that's what I was asking me last night. I went to Dewar and went straight to Okeema's community meeting, and that's one of the things I told them. Hopefully, I'll get 100%. Because if I just lose one, I'm already stepping backward. It's going to be hard to fill that spot. But I didn't think it was going to be tax commission. But there's a lot of work in the tax commission that's come forth. I know you had asked that question to Attorney General, that same question, and also what Representative Gouge had asked. Some of them ideas that we did put forth, not just here. Let's go out. And unfortunately, that's working with the district court, not the AG department. And we've made that we made that suggestion, and I know it's probably due to staffing that they have to go as well. But you did have two former district court judges that did it virtually, Judge Prescott and Judge Leeds. They held their court virtually. Those are things that we can do. Sometimes we have things outside the box. And I will say, each one of these, other than Mr. Terry, has been with me since the very beginning. The rest of these, probably 2 years, they actually hit the ground running like we did. During the COVID time, most of them, we had to think outside the box. How are we still going to service our citizens? And they did. Everyone come brought up ideas to our cabinet, and we're just pressing forward, and especially with the AG's department. Everything hit. You lost 3 experienced AGs at one time. And now we had to get, Jerry's the only one that came in and filled in with all the, had to move forward with that department. The prosecutors and attorneys have grown. I know there's been several conferences we had to go to, sitting on the panel, myself, Attorney General, Chief of Staff, and just told them about what we're doing, what Creek Nation is doing. I know you've been with me on different conferences, some of y'all too, that whenever Creek Nation walks through the door, they recognize that. You know, what is Creek Nation doing? So there's a lot of other tribes watching what we're doing. And I'm very proud of each and every one that I've nominated. You know, we struggled the first 2 years, but we made it through. The last year and a half, I think we've made a lot of progress, and we still got more to go. And like I said, it's been mentioned, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. But I think with the team that's been established, everyone's put their ideas in. Just moving forward. That's all I can say. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Chief. Council, any questions for Chief? Council online? Hearing none. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief, for those words, and thank you, nominees, for your understanding on the time restraints, time and your service, for your answers that was given tonight. I thank you for that. Council, is there any other business? Hearing none. Announcements. Any announcements from council? Reminder, we have pre-agenda session Saturday, February 24 at 9 a.m. We do have more interviews that morning, so then our regular session, we have it scheduled for 10 a.m. Hopefully we can be on time. Like I said, we do have more interviews that morning, so we'll do as best we can to stay on time. Any other announcements? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn. Representative Cloud made a motion to adjourn. Seconded by Representative Golden. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. At this time, I'd like to ask a representative from the Okmulgee District, Robin Whitecloud, to give the benediction, please.
Lord, we thank you for your many blessings that are new every day. Thank you for the opportunity to gather once again to make decisions to discuss the business of the nation. We ask that we be mindful and prayerful about your will and your purpose so that we can make the best decisions for our citizens, our employees, and the communities that we serve. I pray for those that have loved ones that are sick and afflicted. I pray that you would let your healing virtue flow, touch their bodies and their minds. I pray for those that have recently lost loved ones. I pray that you would give them comfort and strength in the days, months, and weeks to come. And as we conclude this meeting and go to our respective destinations, I pray for your traveling grace to go with each and every one of us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
And thank you, Representative Whitecloud. Meeting adjourned, 8:08.